The year is 2104. Humankind has expanded beyond Earth. The expansion has gone inward as well, with the creation and near universal adoption of the system. Technology that allows a direct connection between every consciousness on the planet Earth.
You can trust me, Jenya. You know you can trust me.
You already know too much.
But not everyone believes these developments are a benefit, and they'll do anything to stop it.
We're all full of ghosts of who we once were.
Easy for you to say. You're not the one losing track of who you are.
Maybe you don't exist.
Even that's a lie. There's no me.
Control the past. Control the future.
When is this?
Always. This is always.
3 Pound Magician presents Clarion Dawn.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Talking Dawn. I'm Eric Bra, member of the cast, the director, and some of the producing abilities of Clarion Dawn, the audio drama podcast that we made and we're pretty proud of. And you're watching Talking Dawn, the live stream, live from Production Line Studios down here in South City. Thanks to the Repertoire crew and everybody else, and our super producer, Colin Murray, for bringing us in here to do this. So, let me just give you a little bit of a rundown of what this is. If you don't know, if you're just tuning in, your first time dealing with anything Dawn, period. This is Clarion, well, this is Talking Dawn, but it's Clarion Dawn was the audio drama podcast that we put out. And it was something of a passion project we started doing during lockdown and isolation. So I met our super producer, Colin Murray. He brought me in to meet Corey, who is our writer. We also had an additional writer that did a little help, Adam Brinklow. Adam is probably not going to be here today, but we will get a chance to talk to Corey, the rest of the crew, and of course, we're going to spend some time talking to the cast, because that is all important. And we'll have a couple of questions from you guys if you post them online. We also have a couple right here next to me on my phone from Stina in Norway. So just so you know, we are worldwide. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are out there, and we are truly, truly happy to be doing this. And want to thank you all for tuning in right now. As you could tell, this is not something I do a lot of, so switching around to cameras, I have no idea what I'm looking at. But I hope you all are going to be entertained today as we discuss the principles of putting together this audio drama podcast. We're going to try to remain spoiler-free, which is going to be super hard because we have 7 episodes out, and the 8th and final finale chapter comes out next Friday. So you kind of got most of it if you listened to 7 already, but some people have not caught up yet. So we will try to stay spoiler-free and make something happen here. There's only so long I can vamp. I just want to bring in all these people so you can hear from them and give me a little help because I'm out here by myself. So anyway, here we go from Production Line Studios in South City. This is Talking Dawn. Let's bring in Corey. Corey, we're coming in early to you, buddy. Corey Hill, our lead head writer and the writer for 3 Pound Magician, which was a group that was put together for, for this, really. We also have some other projects that we're kind of working on. And before I fall into a full-on flop sweat, let's bring in Corey. Corey, how you doing?
I am doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad that you're here. So Corey, give us a little bit about your thought process when you're writing something like this. This was, I don't know, kind of an amazing thing, and I know that in the pitch meetings we discussed, you know, how the brain works and things like that, that these were all motivations for how this thing would go. But give us a little something.
Yes, I mean, I think in the original pitch meeting we were just like, hey, what if there was a cult in space? And that was, you know, the extent of the germ of the idea, and then from there, you know, I did do some digging. I read about, you know, cult deprogramming and about Jonestown and about how the brain works and all that. But I think whether consciously or not, over the period of writing this, it was impossible for current events not to sort of seep in and thinking about, you know, misinformation and how systems of control work. And what happens if you degrade a shared truth, over time. Like it wasn't sort of in the pitch meeting. That was obviously not present. It was, again, just literally like cults in space. But as we worked through it, it definitely sort of started to permeate the fiber of the story.
Yeah, and what I was fascinated by when you were writing it was the perception of reality and who controls that. And if you had something like this neural network put into your brain, and technically I guess we're going with it's in the bloodstream. This is something that basically people sort of inject, and it has these little microprocessors that run through your blood system, and they actually help you. You visually will see things and speak to people that technically aren't even there. And then I guess we also talked about the fact that space travel takes a very long time. It's not, you see in movies and TV that you're just like, whoop, yeah, we'll just warp there, no problem. And we said, well, that's not reality. And in 2104, it's probably not the state of where things are. So being able to talk to somebody means that there's going to be a huge delay, and you're not going to wait a half an hour for an hour or an hour to get an answer to something, even if it's a binary yes or no. So you had to have some sort of version of these people to talk to, which means we are now creating LVX scans and creating these AI versions of people, and then you can have a conversation with them in real time, and it's them. But is it? Because maybe they changed their minds after that scan and they changed their mind about something else.
Yeah, and I mean, I always thought about that like parable with the hammer, and you replace the head of the hammer and you replace the handle and blah blah blah. It's still the same hammer, which is the same thing about people. Like over time, all the cells in your body are being replaced, and you're forging new memories, and you don't think the same way you did 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. And which of those is sort of the real you?
Or even
they both
15
are. They all
minutes
are.
ago. Like when I thought this was a good idea.
I think I still agree with the 15 minutes ago. But we still got a lot of show. We still got a lot of show left though. So.
Well, are there other themes that you'd like to point out that are woven through the story?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the way systems of control operate was very much on my mind, thinking about this and thinking about authoritarianism. Again, obviously influenced by current events, but convincing people to do things that are against their own self-interest, convincing people that they don't have a choice, convincing people to work, to sort of give up the learned helplessness was really on my mind, and I never want to do like a very special episode and beat somebody over the head, and at the end have the little star go across the screen and talk about misinformation, but I definitely wanted that to be, yeah. Exactly.
The more you know.
I wanted that to be in there. Yep.
I mean, we're doing it right now, so
Yes, I'm like, here is what you should get out of this.
Exactly. So those are some of the threads, some of the things that were running through your mind writing this. What was it like for you to write this in the way that we did? I mean, you were literally sort of stream of consciousness at times, where I'm in the script watching what you're doing. I mean, we did it all on a Google Doc,
Yeah, and I think we definitely had all right, well, episode 5 is being taped, and we need to finish episode 6, and they're coming over to my house on Sunday. And it's like, all right, well, definitely got to finish this then. So I think it put a lot of fire under my feet, and that was good. And I think having you very actively kind of poking, like, hey, did you really mean that? And I was like, oh, actually, no, that was supposed to be somebody else saying that. So I think your active involvement smooth the process quite a bit as well.
Well, what do you think about how this worked out? I mean, as far as like our pipeline, our whole working process was so remote, like we were not in the same place at the same time, but obviously doing exactly this, really getting together and chatting, and then being in a Word doc together. What did you think of how that worked?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes me hopeful that there will be an expansion of opportunity for folks that won't be geographically bound as these tools get better and better, which is, to be able to do this, to be able to talk to people face to face, to be able to work in the Google Doc, to me, didn't feel limiting. It is very nice to be in the same room as people, but, we've had a pretty, fruitful collaboration, even being on, opposite ends of the coast. So that makes my hope would be that it would mean more people can sort of get into this sort of thing as this gets better.
I got one more for you. What was it like to write something that's going to be portrayed in audio, and so therefore you had to actually almost put like stage direction of like, he's walking here, or you hear these crazy noises, and then you would get Frank, we're going to bring Frank in a minute so we can talk about how that works, the pipeline of working with the audio designer. But what was that like for you?
Yeah, and I actually just asked this question of somebody in a different format where I was on the other end of the table, and I was like, when I was at the question, I feel very grateful for our sound engineer, because I think in a lot of instances I was just like, space noise, and then Frank came along and made some amazing thing happen. I was like, oh, okay, excellent, because I have to admit at certain times, door closing, foot walking sort of thing, but wrapping your head around this is where you normally have an exterior shot of stars, and figuring out how to convey that sonically.
Yeah.
I think I left kind of this is what I want to convey emotionally, and Frank came in and did just wonders with what were frankly sort of just very broad strokes in some places.
Frankly speaking, that brings me to Frank. Let's bring in Frank Slidisco, our audio designer and all-around editor Superman. Frank, how you doing?
Excellent. How is it going? Thanks for having me.
Of course we're going to have you. We can't have this without you. What was it like for you, Frank?
Well, to piggyback on what was just being talked about was the direction that we were getting by working remotely and not being in the same room. You would think it would be very difficult to convey certain concepts verbally that you have in your head, but when you're in a remote situation, it's a lot harder because you're not there to gesture or to play around with stuff in real time. But Corey, you guys made it easy for me, actually, for the most part. There were times, but for the most part, it was very easy to grasp the concepts that were trying to be delivered, and then putting them into a sound format wasn't as difficult as you would think. The only drawback to the remote workflow was trying to get everybody to listen to something at the same time instead of presenting a review and then in a link and then waiting for other people to say what they felt about it, because that sometimes would create the delay that we were talking about earlier, where I would start working on something and then Corey would jump in and say I meant this, and have to go back and to previous iterations and rebuild from there. But for the most part, it was pretty easy working remotely on something this brand.
So how did you feel about was this something that you felt a good use of your time in lockdown?
Oh God, no. I'd rather eat a lot of pizza, drink a lot of beer. This was having something like this to do in a lockdown really keeps your creative juices flowing, keeps your chops up when you're working on something, even if it's not for a very specific product or if it's for a niche market. Either way, you're honing your craft, and that's the most important thing to any artist. So when you have a lockdown situation and you get a chance to get involved in a project that's as high-minded as this one was, it's really a great opportunity to just show off what you can do and to say, look what I did, even though. And I think that was the best part for me working on this project.
So what's it like to sit there and think to yourself, all right, I have to come up with the engine noise, I have to come up with what it sounds like in the hallway, and did you just sit there and scour through every sound effect? Did you have a folder full of that kind of stuff? What was it like for you, your actual sort of working pipeline?
As far as like designing a ship sound, for example, you have to take into consideration a whole bunch of stuff like how big is this ship? Is it moving quickly relatively? And these kind of things that you have to adjust your sounds based on that. So I would like have something set up where it sounded like this huge ship, but in reality, a huge spaceship would be very, very quiet because of its size. They would already be settled in. Whereas we were talking about an industrial kind of rundown, like kind of small scavenger type ship. So it had to have a lot more ambient noise because it had to take into account how much space was available on the ship. So you really had to think in a 3D visual way in order to convey that through a sound that people could digest and understand the space that we were working in.
Yeah, it seems odd to me sometimes when I think about that because, you know, there's a line where I'm just like, all right, more on that later, and it's sort of like I'm pushing away, and obviously, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is the possibility that some of this is not all as tangible as you might be hearing and thinking. So when you do something, you have to think, well, what's it going to be to the future? You know, like what's gonna be the next thing? But when you're like, okay, let me just get to this point. I think that you did a pretty amazing job of, I literally hear the scenes in my mind. Like I would say, oh, the door opens, but I didn't hear him walking to the door. I heard him leave, saying goodbye or whatever, and then I'd hear the door open and him walk. It was like I could see it in my mind as the frame. I thought that was kind of amazing that you did it that way. Were you actually thinking about whether or not a camera moving and where the camera is for the listener's sake?
Exactly. I was envisioning what this would look like if it was a movie format. And then I would try to create an oral soundscape based on what I was seeing in my head. And then I would scale it back a little bit for extraneous items that just didn't really need to be there. And I would think like if I wanted to focus my attention on the character in a movie walking down a hallway, then I would emphasize certain sounds that would keep the eye focused on what that character is doing. So when you want to direct sounds without video, you have to think like, what do you want your listener to be focused on? And that's what you start pushing everything else away. And so when you're able to follow along in your head what this person would look like or how they're moving, then the other details don't necessarily matter. So you don't have to worry so much about what the other people are doing at a communal breakfast. You want them to be focused on what this person walking away is doing. And I just tried to keep that in mind whenever I was working on it.
All right, do we still have Corey in?
We do.
All right, Corey, your thoughts on working with Frank and saying, you know, even though I wrote, you know, crashing noise, you you had to figure out how to portray that to Frank. You know, was it just, you know, the sort of weekly meetings? We would do little sort of actually just like this, almost like Zoom chat. Was it that helped?
Yeah, I mean, I think like being able to call and like just like being like, it just sounds like was actually very helpful. I mean, as ridiculous as it sounds, we did do that quite a bit. You know, for some of the more esoteric sounds, the booting sounds. But at certain times, like especially on the last episode that I listened to, you know, I was a week before just looking at like the script, and then to hear like what was literally just like, you know, I won't spoil anything. But it was literally just like a one-line description, and then to hear it as this very dramatic series of very well done effects was, you know, pretty magical experience for me to just see what Frank did with just such like a tiny little thing.
Yeah, I think it's a huge pat on the back to Frank.
And to add on to what Corey was saying, I got a lot of creative freedom with that. So when Corey would give me a very small description of an event that's supposed to occur, it allowed me to really like figure out how I thought it would sound. And it was just, I don't know, serendipity maybe, coincidence, call it what you will, that Corey and I tended to be on the same wavelength when it came to stuff like that. When it was something that was very specific, we would have to get on the horn with each other and do the pew-pews with our mouths and try to figure stuff out. Corey was very helpful with me figuring out how to portray certain things, certain elements using the cast voices. As the story progresses, things happen that you're not aware of in the first couple of episodes. But I had to figure out a way to portray that, without giving away anything. And Corey was very helpful in describing what he knows was going to happen in the future and how we should direct the listener's attention without giving away too much. And that was a very fine line to walk, and I think Corey walked it very well.
Awesome. Well, because we're talking about audio, we got to talk about our stars. Let's bring the cast in. Coming into the cast, we have G.W. Walker, who played Samir. We have Rashida Clendenning, who was Yolande. Heather Shepherdson played Jenya. We have Honey Bunna, who was there as Pelton. And Bliss Lee Harshaw came in as Voice, the person I talk to all the time. And then, of course, Michael Murphy as Captain. Hey guys, how are you?
Great. Delightful.
Good. Thanks for taking the time to pipe in or chime in here and let us know what your experience was like. I'm gonna try to make sure that we don't overtalk too much, so I'll just sort of like go around the horn here. I'll start because GW happened to be in my screen top right. I'll start with you. You were a character that we were discussing. How would we cast Samir? What did we want from Samir? And the fact that he was a poet, and which made my head spin. I'm like, wait a minute. They're on a ship to Mars and there's a poet on board? This doesn't make any sense to me. Which is why we sort of ad-libbed that little bit. I'm a sysadmin. But, and I loved it. So what was your experience like working with this? Obviously, we did cheat a little bit. We had a couple people that had to come to my booth because, well, we're friends. We see each other a lot more often and we felt a little more comfortable. So GW, Heather, and Bliss all made a trek to my little studio, and I mean little. It's also filled with a bunch of stuff, so it's kind of, anyway. GW.
It was a blast. I loved voicing him. I loved getting kind of direction from you. It was just like a really fun new experience for me. When I first came to voice Samir, I honestly thought that I was just going to be in the first episode, and that was it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. I go in there, like let's have a little fun, see what we can do with the voice. And it was a blast. I love the feedback I got from you. I love the whole interaction through the process. Did not expect an email saying, all right, so returning cast, we're going to need you this, and we have this new thing. Like, wait. Why am I in this email? What? Huh? I was like, is there a mistake? I think I'm just a random poet. I don't. What?
You were not wearing a red shirt.
And then as I read on to the new script, I was like, oh. So it was a reveal to me as well, kind of Samir's backstory and what he kind of brings to the story. And I was like, all right, well, let me put on my big boy pants. We're going all in. Let's go.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that we challenged you a little bit. I'll by the way, GW is, or was, I should say, I do a weekly D&D stream, and GW was in the first season of Realms of Ukador with me, and he was the obvious pick. Once Corey heard his voice, he's like, yeah, I think that's Samir, and I went, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense. All right, so I'm going to switch over now. Rashida Clendenning, who a brilliant voice actor I know from, I do a lot of voiceover, and it's obvious I shouldn't be on camera. So we run into each other at the studio all the time, and I'm like, hey man,
we have
a character. Yeah, right before the world ended. We have a character that. I mean, I heard it, I had some ideas, and then I thought, wait a minute, I know who to call. So, Rashida Clendenning, welcome to Talking Dawn. Let's hear you talk.
Thank you. Hi, I'm talking.
Well, what was your experience like?
Yes. Dramatic, let me tell you. I relate to this character deeply. And freakishly, she was saying things that I have thought before. So kudos to Corey for writing my mind somehow. It's a joy to play a character. I love all my work, but a majority of my work sounds a lot like me talking and selling you products. This sounds almost like me evolved, and 2020 has definitely been an evolution for me personally and for many in my communities and around me. So it was are we allowed to use profanity here?
If you want to use profanity, go for it.
It was a mind fuck. It really was. To hear her talking about some of the things that I've been thinking about and profess to already know what the fuck is going on. So I'm like, well, maybe there's a part of me that knows. No, I'm not that good, but maybe, we'll see. So it's been super eye-opening, and everyone's been so supportive. You're an amazing director, and the writing is amazing and thought-provoking, and it's something I always want to lean into in all my work, and hopefully provide other people a place to go, whoa, I never thought of shit that way. Yeah.
Wow. I'm getting redder by the second. All right. Thank you, Rashida. I will move on to our next cast member. Right in the middle of my screen, Heather Shepherdson. Heather and I have done some theater and stuff together, and we've also done a ton of 48-hour films and things like that. And when we were talking about Jenya, again, we were thinking about, people we know that, are our friends that we can say, we're just working on this project, why don't you come in? And Heather's name came up very early for Jenya, and we were like, all right, I think we could have Heather do that. So Heather, what was it like for you?
It was a gift, I have to say. We talked and we were all in lockdown, and it felt so good to have some place to go and something to do. And then, of course, after we recorded the first episode, then I was right back in the dental world 50 hours a week. And so it was my sanity. It was a little taste of all the things that I miss about the real world. And so it was fun to have such a unique experience and something that I've never done before. And it was also challenging because I'm a stage actress and I'm so used to having that person-to-person contact and really working a scene and what are we doing in this moment, and how does this inform the story, and all of that was missing. And having no idea what even was going to happen to my character in the next episode, or what her character arc was. So it was a whole new experience in a way I've never worked before, and that was really entertaining and fun.
I should interject for just a moment, as obviously the cast knows this. In the first couple of episodes, I was experiencing it with everyone else. So even though I'm supposed to be helping to direct this thing and know there were literally times I'm like, I got to talk to Corey about that. I really don't even know what's happening there. And and it was funny because I finally said, all right, Corey, I think I'm going to have to know more, obviously, so that I can sort of do a better job of directing someone. And it was an interesting experience because I think, as a couple of you have already mentioned, the first episode or two, we were like, all right, cool, I did that. So that's all done, right? And I'm like, I'll let you know. And it's kind of where Corey decides to take it. So it was very interesting, and you did a great job. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for asking me.
Of course. All right, I move on to the next one to my right, Honey Bunna. Honey and I had worked on a project just previous to this. It's out now. It's on Steam if you're into sort of games. It's more of an interactive film experience. It's called Splinter. It's out there from Hobo Studios, a good friend of mine. I helped produce that project, and mostly we actually shot live action scenes and then stuck them onto objects within the game environment. So you would see like a clip of the movie play. And anyway, so I had such a great time working with Honey, and I said, I'd like to reach out and see if you'd be willing to give this a shot. Now, Honey and I worked in a very different way because we would get together on like a Google chat, and I'd say, all right, let's just go through the lines, and then you're going to record on your own because we couldn't set up where I was talking to her while she was recording. So we said, well, all right. We'll discuss it. We'll kind of go through direct lines, and then you're going to go ahead and do your thing, and then send me the files back. So, Honey, how was it for you?
I absolutely loved it. My version of how I got into this was, the pandemic raged, and then I used to, in the aughts, have a very narrow but full-time voiceover career. So when all the performance art that I was engaged in shut down, I thought to myself, who is the most famous voiceover artist I know? And then just decided to kind of creep on you till, something happened. Oh yeah, I'm available. Who knew?
Nice.
But I was so jazzed to receive the script that was just out of this world, to be a little punny. I think Corey articulated it in a way that I understood, but maybe didn't put into words, that it's an exploration of how authoritarian power can use misinformation to get their way. And as the script evolved, I had the same reaction that GW had of like, oh my God! And that's amazing, to really be involved in a piece of art that, well, first of all, it's nice to not be in charge. But second of all, it's amazing to be like so impressed by what's going on in this endeavor that's unfolding in front of you.
Awesome. Well, I thought it was. I think the best direction I gave you was tired police captain. Oh God, what do you two want? You've already destroyed half the city. And so you absolutely did you, but as the tired police captain, I thought it was great.
I did my best Eric impression.
Captain Anderson.
Captain Anderson. The beard.
I assume you will agree that as a one-word summation of this entire thing was the mind frack.
I think the mind frack is pretty good. I mean, again, even I'm not like a literary scholar or anything, but when I read, in episode 3 or 4, when everything turns around completely, I got to experience the mind fuck completely. Looking back, I can see how the plot was going there all along, but I was totally sucked in. I was completely blindsided along with your character, Eric.
Well, Kennick is pretty awesome, actually. I love that he is who he is until he's not. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. I'm trying so hard to not spoil things. I know that 7 just came out, so I'm just like, if you've already heard 7, you kind of understand what we're talking about. But if you haven't heard any of these yet, that's fine. Just go listen to them, and honestly, they're like 20-minute episodes. It's a good commute. You could listen to a story on your commute. All right. Thank you, Honey. I will drop down to Michael Murphy. So Michael and I know each other basically, we know each other reading in person and things like that, but we met online originally. And, he does voices, he does music, and he does lots of things. He's actually working on a musical right now. So I said, listen, I want to get you involved in some way. And so I actually had him audition for a couple of things, but we had him audition for Samir, as a matter of fact, early on. And we said, wow, I don't know if he's the right Samir, but that voice that he's doing, because that's obviously not your normal voice. You were doing a character, but man, it was wonderful. So So give us an idea what it was like for you. You and I actually did do a sort of like, what we had Discord going, and then you were recording locally, and then you sent me the files afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I really appreciated your direction, Eric. Like, it's the first time I got to actually like work on a professional level with you, and like and have that creative space and share it. And it really helped me. Like, I've dabbled in voices. Like we met because I did the thing for IPL a long time ago, and getting your direction, and like you were worried that you were line reading. Like, no, give me like show me these variations and let's just go. Like, I enjoy that. There was like no ego in the room at all, and I just love that so much, where it was just about the creative process. So like I was excited when you guys were like, well, we don't have a part for you, and then an email later like, we're gonna write you in. I'm like, what?
Well, the character to be fair, the character came up, and honestly, I looked at Corey. We were in again another like Zoom chat, and I said, and he goes, I think this is the guy that voice has to be, that Mike needs to do, because it was just, he's supposed to be sort of an eclectic, odd individual. Obviously, all of these crew members are very interesting. So yeah, and he had to be like, we actually say at one point that, and you in the crazy outfit or whatever. So obviously we sort of painted it in our mind of what he might look like, but we didn't, we still didn't have the voice yet until we were listening to it, thinking about, let's try to have him do that. And you were going through your own issues and trying to figure out when and how we were going to record. And it was great because we finally got it nailed down, and then it was just bang. We just started going through them. So it was really great. So thank you very much.
I ended up building a booth in a few days for that. It was great. Yeah, thank you.
And last but not least, Bliss, Lee Harshaw, was voice. And the funniest thing is we had Bliss. We actually, because Bliss and I are really good friends, and we had been, again, we'd see each other during the lockdown, and very kind and awesome person. So we were hanging out, and I said, well, why don't you try reading for a couple of the characters? And the funniest thing was, I think you read for Jenya as well, and then we were like, well, we think we're gonna have Heather do that. What else do we have, kind of thing. And the funniest thing was, I think Corey was like, Bliss has this sort of tone that really works well for voice. And I was like, you're absolutely right. And so I think you were apprehensive at first because you were like, I get to be the ship's computer? And I'm like, don't worry, I think we're gonna do more. And we did. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but you do show a lot more humanity along the way. And it was great. How was it for you?
Well, the perception is slightly askew. I did audition for both, but I really liked the voice better, as well as the fact that there was like a sexiness level that needed to go with Jenya, and I've worked with Heather for so very long. And the idea that she was going to be able to be that character was so exciting to me. And so I really did like the voice the best. I liked the fact that there was a level of detachment, which made sense, especially during pandemic and that sort of thing. But it allowed me, especially in each week, because it was new, I would show up, and because you're like, there's going to be some lines. I'm like, okay. And, then I go in like, oh, this is what happens. Oh, okay. So each time I come in, it was very thrilling to be able to see the evolution of it. So being able to be detached from my character really was good for me, because I didn't sort of wallow in the normal, theater actor world that I live in of, but I have to know why she thinks this way, and I have to know why she feels this way, and what did her third grade teacher do to her, and then, so I can tell you to buy the cereal, like that's how sad this thing is, but you know, so it really worked for being able to not really develop the character in the wider sense that I normally sort of would be involved in. So that was really great. But then I liked the fact that I noticed as we progressed the level of disattachment, sort of, I don't know, went away a little bit, and there was more to sort of pull on, and that was
Now,
more
see,
fun.
I felt like you were getting more attachment because you got more human to him, to Kennick, and it was great because so the song in chapter 2 that they write him a song, and it absolutely, I remember brainstorming about what should this thing be, and what and honestly, leaving it in the hands of people that are much better musicians and all of that is definitely the way to go. However, I had this sort of sea shanty idea in my head, and I remember Corey had written down, down, down we go, or something like that, and I was like, I'm not feeling it. I need something different. And so I wrote these lyrics, which you hear a few times throughout the series, and I remember that you were the first one to actually sing the lyrics. Nobody, because all it was music before that. So it was kind of cool, and you're a great singer, so it was really wonderful to have you come in and actually sing the lyrics. So thank you for that.
Sure, that was fun. That had been a minute for me, so. Good. It was good. Yeah. No, I really, the whole process was wonderful, and it was great, and I enjoyed it tremendously.
I'm going to go back around. I do have a question that came in from Stina, and I want to ask each person if you could quickly give me, is there a character in this that you wish you could have played? We'll start with GW.
A character I wish I could have played. I loved the liveliness and the loudness and the just sporadic kind of behavior of Yulan. I love that character and what you put into it. I was like, I kind of want that. That's a really, really fun one. I'll kind of want to try that one.
All right, Rashida. What about you, Rashida?
Bring it on. Bring it on. First thing that comes to mind, see, but I don't want to do any spoilers. So how do I say this? Pelton. Because I don't get to play characters like that.
Gotcha.
Enough.
Me neither.
I think I know where you're going. Pelton has a bit of a twist.
Yep.
And we don't want to give too much away, although I'm assuming that most people that that are watching this have probably listened, but yes. All right, so Heather, what about you?
I have to say that I loved playing Jenya. She was my choice, and she's the one that I would want to play again if I had it all to do over again.
Nice. Honey, what about you?
Pelton all the way. I mean, I do have kind of HAL dreams, so maybe the computer would be fun, but no way. When I was reading the script, I literally put it down at one point and just danced around and was like, guys, everyone, you will never believe what happened.
Well, there was a bit of a twist to your character, so it was really great, and I remember the absolute joy in calling you and explaining what was now going to be happening with your character, and you were like, oh yes, it's what I thought was happening, and I'm so happy about it. So yeah, that was awesome. All right, did Mike next? No, we don't hear Mike.
Oops. Uh-oh.
I would. Hello. Hi. I would have loved to try Samir. It never dawned on me. Dude, it sounded like something out of StarCraft. It really did. Like the airiness of it. So I would have never approached it that way, and it felt very earthreal. I loved it so much, and I didn't even think about that. And I would love to play around with that airiness. It was great, man.
Awesome. And Bliss?
Well, I mean, I don't think I'd want to play anybody else but the voice, but upon having to give an answer, I think I'd probably go with Samir, because there's there was so much silky, smoothie, snaky, just to it that that's. I mean, he made it sound so fun.
Yes. GW did such a great job. It's very sexy. Samir's very cool. And the funny thing about Samir, to me, Samir's very funny because he just doesn't seem phased by anything. And I'm like, there's engine distress. Wait, am I alone here? And he's just sort of like, oh yeah, it's acting up. We'll get around to it. And I'm just like, this is like some stoners. It's great. It's fantastic.
He's like the dog in the meme where everything's on fire and like, this is fine.
Thank you so much. Ethereal silkiness. I'm flabbergasted. Thank you.
Oh, you're sexy, baby. Well, we have reached a moment where I am sitting on this stage and I'm all alone, or am I? It's time to bring in our super producer, Colin Murray. Colin, good to see you here.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Thanks, Eric, for coming down. Nice to see all you guys. This is amazing. Good show, everybody. Awesome job.
So, what was it like for you, man?
Man, it's been, well, I mean, I got to be perfectly honest. I kind of feel like I set a few key things in motion and just then watched the train pass by. It's been a whirlwind. Unexpectedly, so as Eric mentioned, we started in the midst of the pandemic, and I work here at Repertoire Productions. We do live events, lots of people, so as you can imagine, it's pretty much end of the world when the pandemic started because there is no more live events. So I said, well, time for plan B. Let's get some projects started. Let's make some art while we have time. And then got the couple things going. Was pretty involved in the process at the beginning of coming up with ideas, and then really just got unexpectedly busy doing pretty much what we're doing right now, virtual conferences. Like, who would have thought this is now in big demand? So we've been
work
slammed.
In the future.
Yeah, we've been slammed basically, but I was very blessed to be involved in the beginning and then try and contribute as well through some of these things that we're doing. And I mean, I just think it's a great project. To me, the whole thing is sort of a meditation on cognitive dissonance and the harm that can cause to society at large. And I think we're all living through that right now. So very timely, very interesting, and just, I mean, in dark times like these, artists need to get together any way we can, keep making content, keep making projects, keep inspiring people, provide parallels for the way things could end up, and hopefully visions as well for a brighter future.
Nice. Well, as you may or may not know, 3 Pound Magician is the group that is Corey and Frank and Colin and myself and our friend Adam, who also helped out with some of the dialogue and especially the early episodes, and obviously a lot of the sort of design. I think Adam fell in love with the idea of cults. He was absolutely on board with all of that. One of the earlier ideas was that we were going to have humans working virtually, running robots that were on Mars, and that the cult was going to say, this is all wrong. Are you on Mars? Or are you at Earth? Like the whole idea of what is reality. And so, and then it evolved into this, which I absolutely loved, partially because I was the guy in the corner going, can I do a space detective? Which sounds utterly ridiculous when you say it out loud, but I was like, I don't know, what about that? And then these guys the ball started rolling, and then it was just evolving, and it was kind of out of control at times. I mean, Corey and Adam and you guys it's incredible work, man.
That's what I was thinking about the train going by, is just there's so much incredible amount of content. I mean, I don't know how, I'm sure all people on this call realize, but everybody out in the broader world, to produce 8 episodes of original content with actors and scripts and sound design and everything, and what do we do? How long has it taken since we actually started? We started in March and we released the first episode.
Well, we didn't release until what, August?
Yeah, but either way, basically we just did a feature film minus the film part, but the concept, and it's March, and now it's out and everybody can listen to it. And we're super jazzed about the episode 8, the big finale, coming out next week. So if you're not caught up, make sure you get caught up by then. And episode 8 is where it all comes together. It's going to be some surprises.
Indeed. And then on top of that, this is, once it's all out, it's what, a 4-hour car ride. You can listen to the whole thing.
It's perfect, yeah. And if anybody, big producers out there, get an idea that maybe it should be a movie, feel free to give us a call.
Give us a call.
We are
3-Pound Magician.
Yeah, phone lines are open.
The phone lines are open at 3poundmagician.com. Okay. So, Colin, what about you? Was there a character that you wish maybe you could play? You do make a cameo in the...
I do. I have a small voice.
In Chapter 7.
Which reminds me, let's get that clip today before we leave.
See, he's always producing. I love this guy.
1 second. Colin Murray. There you go.
There we go. We got it
recorded.
All right, so we can take that file and then we'll stick it in there.
I like the extras, the actuals, as we call them. I would be probably Samir or the captain. I think they're cool. The poets. I love a good poet.
And you agree? The one word to describe this series?
Well, cognitive dissonance is 2 words. Okay. Shit, you put me on the spot.
Put a hyphen.
Come back to me.
You're all I have left. Come on, Colin.
Insane.
Well, I want to just sort of open it up to the panel if anybody has anything they want to say and talk about during this, because, this, it meant a lot to me. And, I'll say personally that this entire thing just, I don't want to get all misty-eyed, but I will say that you guys really mean a lot to me for joining us on this journey. It honestly, it can't be much better. I think you guys did a fantastic job. Frank, there were times that I'm like, Frank, we'll probably have to talk about this. And then Frank would send me a version and I go, well, there's nothing to talk about. Because Frank would just, I don't know, he just mind melds with you and he knows what you're going. And even when I would say, like, I don't know if I'm in love with that, the fact that he'd made these decisions that are good, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to put my trust in Frank. And I think that's, honestly, I'm sure you can agree, doing producing and directing things, you bring people in that you have faith in, that you work with, that you like, and you don't have to do a lot. You got to go, here's your role, whatever it is, whether it's cast or crew, here's your thing, and then you let them go. You get out of their way.
Yeah, this team that we've been working with, Eric, Heather, Frank, a lot of you folks as well, it's, how many years has it been? It's at least a decade, right?
It's been quite some time, yeah.
So, there's a little filmography out there if you want to go back and look. But, it's just such a privilege working with everybody here on this show. It's just an honor, and we were in there in the control room. I was switching the show earlier, and I was just talking about the delivery and the lighting and how easy you guys are to get on the air. And I was like, God, I miss working with performers, these corporate suits. So tough, but you got to do what you got to do to make $1.
Indeed.
You guys first pulled me onto this project. I really didn't know what I was getting into. Eric just called me up and was like, "Hey, we're doing a thing. You want to do a thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do a thing." And then I saw the script and I was like, "Ooh, this script is very interesting and I love it. And we'll see what happens. This is pretty cool." And then I started getting all of the cast performances, and you guys really made me have to step on my game. When I heard what you guys were doing with your characters, I was just like, ooh, I got to put some work on my end, because these guys are they're pushing me hard. So very well done, guys. I would work with any of you again in a heartbeat, just based off of one episode. Just the way you guys pushed me to make sure that I delivered what I could to take care of you guys. I was very honored.
We're supposed to be wrapping it up, but I can't. I just can't, because I have to stress how much I love you guys for doing this, and the performances were so great. There was times so now I got to help out a little bit on the audio side. So I'd help record, and then I'd put a lot of stuff sort of linear into like a Pro Tools session, and then I'd just give it all to Frank. Which that part was easy. But the putting stuff together, though, some of your deliveries were so perfect that it literally sounded like you were in the room together. There's a moment, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler because it's like episode 2. when Yulan is like welcoming Kennick into the room, and she sort of climbs on him and like she's like, let's look at this haggard specimen, and then she like pulls on, and he's like, whoa, you got to stop pulling on people's eyelids and stuff. And she's like, oh, sorry, you know, like, and it was funny because the way she delivered it was so perfect that you heard it in your, you know what I mean? When you listen to it, you see it in your mind that she's sort of like checking him out, and you know, it was just wonderful. And all of you had moments like that. It was just incredible. I can't thank you enough. I think we should plug almost everything we can. Obviously, Production Line Studios, we're here. The folks at Repertoire who are part of Production Line, and honestly our crew, we have a very small masked up crew that is doing a great job. Colin obviously being our super producer, but you guys did such a great job. And is anybody want to take a second to plug something that's their next thing? And we'll start with Corey, the man of the hour.
Yeah, I mean, I host an entertainment and mostly politics focused podcast called Justin News, and you can check that out on a very irregular basis because our audio guy got very busy. So sort of just whenever we can get around to it, there's a new show.
Cool, GW.
Yeah, I have some fun projects coming up near the end of this year / the beginning of next. You can just follow me on either IG or Twitter under GW005. That's 2 B's and 2 zeros. And yeah, I'll be up to date with all the fun projects I'm working on.
Honey, you are, I mean, you've done a lot of like, you know, performance art and burlesque and things like that. Obviously, none of that is happening. What else do you have going on?
Tourette's Without Regrets.
Tourette's Without Regrets?
20-year-long running variety show based in Oakland, California is now based in the ether. And you can get our next event Thursday, October 15th online. Tourette's Without Regrets.
Nice. Heather, anything coming up for you?
I have nothing to plug, I have to say. My life is kind of boring right now because live theater does not exist. And I just heard that Broadway is not coming back now till June of 21.
Wow.
So I imagine a lot of local theaters will follow suit. So support local theater if you can, because we really want it to come back eventually.
Nice. Rashida, you're out there. I mean, come on. You're the voice of all kinds of things. I know NorCal Honda and all these other things. What else?
My plugs right now, you can find everything at Audio Angel World on Instagram. But the new thing I'm doing is called Dance Party Every Day. And that's at Dance Party Every Day, also on Instagram, and where I will randomly go online and dance.
Yeah, I tuned in the other day.
House. Awesome. But just with you, yeah.
Yeah. Mike, how about you?
Oh, I got a few things. Shout out to my crew at Twitch Pixel Studios. We're a small animation studio. Just making packages and shipping them off to Netflix and other media buyers. So shout out to Jeff if he's watching there. Like Eric, you had a chance to meet him. Like, he's a great guy, great to work with. And I'll have a musical out here in a bit, so stay tuned on that. On my Instagram is just GG Strato, and most of that is just character art and designs for that.
Awesome. Frank, how about you, buddy?
Freedom Finger. It's a video game I did sound design for. It's a 2D scroller. It's music driven and it's amazing.
It is. There's a bunch of people in it.
Storyline. Yeah, there's a lot of famous voice talent on it. It's got a pitch or a twist in the whole storyline, so it's very in line with what we're doing with this.
Awesome.
But it's available on Switch, PC, Sony, PlayStation, Xbox, all of it.
Nice. Bliss, do you have anything for us?
Well, the projects, I guess, that we're currently both involved in, or several of us, four of the people that are talking here, at least so far, are all put on hold because we're not allowed to act next to one another. So when that comes back into being, then those projects will, come to fruition. But I did want to take the second to say that, as like Frank said, that you said, hey, do you want to do this thing, and that's kind of how it goes. But we all show up because this guy, however, is probably one of the coolest dudes in the world. One of the most talented people that I've ever worked
Definitely.
with, and we'll have the luxury probably of working with the bearded man at the top. And we all show up because you ask. So, and speaking for myself, but maybe for everybody else, that will always show up when you ask. So
Definitely.
you put together amazing things, and you're the best. And yeah, so that's what I'm promoting.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate
it.
I would also like to plug something, Eric. If I
Yes,
may.
please, plug away.
I would like to plug this place, that desk that you're sitting at with
That's
this
right.
cool set.
Production Line Studios.
Everything that you see here, Production Line Studios, open full production service studios for podcasting, video games, promotions, webcasting, all kinds of cool stuff. I would like to thank our all-volunteer crew who stayed here late on a Friday to produce this great show for you guys. Alex Denham, production coordinator, Jack Headley, technical director, Shabby Moreno, audio engineer. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Jonathan Jackson, the founder of Repertoire Productions and the mastermind Production Line Studios, a great business partner, and he's made really all this possible over the last 8 years, and actually how we met each other, I think.
I think so. Well, no, we met each other before that, I think, but
well, it was right around the same time.
Bottom line is, he has been a backbone for us in a lot of our 48-hour productions. Obviously, the guy's got some tech here and there, and he helps us out and executive produces for us, and we really love Jonathan Jackson for that. And obviously, we love Repertoire and Production Line Studios. Obviously, I'm going to say that a few times because they've been so kind to do this, bringing in the VMix and bringing all our people in. We absolutely love them for it. So thanks, Jonathan, and thanks to Colin, because this wouldn't be happening without him.
Thanks to you, buddy.
Applause there for Colin Murray, our super producer.
Yeah, and our director, Eric. I mean, the thing with Eric, when he calls you to do something, you already know you're going to do it because he has done so many things for you. You owe him 3 or 4. So if you do one, you may be some of the way paid back.
Yes, you've fallen into my trap.
So I love you, buddy. I love everybody on this crew. It's been a pleasure working with y'all, and I'm just so fucking psyched for episode 8.
Oh, I'm super psyched. And I am super psyched for someone who, if you're watching this now and you have not listened to any of it, I'm so jealous of you because you get to just binge all the way through, which is, how people sort of take in their media nowadays, just binging it all. So I thank you all. Corey, you did a great job. This story's wonderful. Adam did a great job with helping out with some of the dialogue and story points that really, really kicked. Frank, your audio design, come on, man. Great job. And this cast. These are people that not all of them are like professional actors. They're all just artistic, great people and great friends because they were willing to do this. And I thank you all. I love you all, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you are watching right now on this live stream, I want to say thank you to you because you took the time to sit and watch this and listen to us and hear what we were doing, and I appreciate that very much. Stay tuned for Chapter 8 next Friday. Thursday night, if you're, really stay up late, a little night owl, you could check out it on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific or midnight on the East Coast. That will come up Thursday, but obviously that means Friday morning. So Chapter 8 coming soon. This will be up, I think, to share for everybody, and we will talk to you all soon. This has been Talking Dawn, live from Production Line Studios. I'm Eric Bra. That's Colin Murray. That's the cast and crew and everyone that we did.
We did it, guys. You all rock. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
The year is 2104. Humankind has expanded beyond Earth. The expansion has gone inward as well, with the creation and near universal adoption of the system. Technology that allows a direct connection between every consciousness on the planet Earth.
You can trust me, Genya. You know you can trust me.
You already know too much.
But not everyone believes these developments are a benefit, and they'll do anything to stop it.
We're all full of ghosts of who we once were.
Easy for you to say. You're not the one losing track of who you are.
Maybe you don't exist.
Even that's a lie. There's no me.
Control the past. control the future.
When is this?
Always. This is always.
3 Pound Magician presents Clarion Dawn.